doesn't really have anything to do with what I want to do, but she has still been able to connect me with people who are doing something that I want to do. Just because they don't do it doesn't mean that they don't know people who do it.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to Tea Time with Letitia on Gratified Grad, where it's my goal to help you graduate with gratification. In today's video, I am drinking green tea plus matcha and peppermint. Now, I already love me some peppermint tea, and matcha I'd never had before, and green tea, y'all know I don't like. But this tea right here is good. So matcha is I think that's the key point here. Matcha is literally translates to powdered green tea, like powdered tea. Literally, that's what it translates to. It's powdered tea. And it has a lighter taste just because of when they do the collection of the leaf. And so some of the benefits of having matcha in the tea is that, one, it provides more caffeine if you like caffeine, but it also can boost metabolism, and studies suggest that it can kill cancer cells. So matcha tea is the new thing that I'm drinking, and I like it. So I want to get some really expensive kind. This is the cheap kind. We're going to elevate up. And in today's video, we are going to be talking about networking. So before we get into the conversation, I am going to let my guest introduce herself.
Yeah, so I'm Dynisty. I'm going into my third year in the PhD program at Penn State. I'm in the biology program, and my tea is a peach detox tea. They give you nice little quotes on a little tea bag. You can't see this one, but it says, use your head to live with your heart. And I always like inspirational things because obviously it says hope.
Oh, I really do like that mug.
It's actually a dandelion tea, which is good for detoxing the body of all the toxins, and it detoxes in a lot of ways.
Oh, that sounds like me and black tea and the purge that black tea does for me.
Yeah.
So getting into the conversation of today, Dynisty came into graduate school very comfortable with networking. And so I just want to, kind of pick Dynisty's brain on what does that look like coming into graduate school networking? How did you use your networking skill as a graduate student?
Yeah, so as an undergrad, I went to a bunch of different conferences, so like ABRCAMS, all these big conferences, ABRCAMS, ERN, and I did most of these through, like the research programs at my university, and I went to a small university, so it wasn't many.
Can I pause you right there? I just want to give a little clarification there for those who don't know. ABRCAMS and ERN are both conferences in the science field, and they're also conferences that cater to minorities.
Yeah. Yeah, so at these conferences, you just kind of have to get out of your skin because I am an introvert. So I don't like talking to a bunch of people at the same time. So I kind of get out of my skin when I go to conferences, and I talk to all of these different faculty members, even professors and research advisors at different universities. So when I came to Penn State, I got here actually through Isaac. Isaac is my husband. So he got me connected with Dr. Preston, and through Dr. Preston, I was able to get connected with other people. So it's kind of like building your own network just kind of gets you more access to different places. So she actually is the one, she introduced me to a lady named Tracy Lankilda, and Tracy actually introduced me to Steve, who is my now advisor. So as you can see, networking is a big part of my life, and getting to all of these different places, that's how I got to my actual advisor now.
I think that Dr. Preston has played a role in a lot of our lives because she got me here at Penn State. So you said that you are like you feel like you're an introvert, you know, you're quiet to yourself, but when you went to these conferences as an undergrad, did you just know that you had to talk to people, or was it something like you were coached on?
So coming from an HBCU, you don't know these things.
Yeah, 'cause I'm thinking about what you're saying. Like when I went to conferences, I did not network. I did
Yeah.
not talk to people. I stuck with my group.
So when I actually got to the conference, I met a woman, and she is the one who actually kind of coached me. She was like, you should come to Emory. You know, Emory's is this amazing place. And she was like, well, if you don't come to Emory, which I hope you do, you know, you should learn to network. You know what? As a matter of fact, come talk to this lady. I know it's blank, you know, I know blah, blah, blah. Um, so yeah, so she's actually the one who taught me that networking is this very important thing, and it is an important skill that you have to have, um, just in life in general.
Okay. Yep. So fast forward to you needing to use these networking skills that you've learned into getting into your program. You went through it you went through the process a second ago, and you said how you used Isaac's network to get to your advisor essentially.
Yeah.
But what did that look like on like the ground level? So did it look like, were you emailing professors? Were you coming to Penn State and, you know, setting up appointments with them? What did that look like?
Mm. So networking for me looks like, so actually it looks a few different ways. So with Dr. Preston actually physically introduced me to Mr. McCullum. I don't know if you remember Mr. McCullum, but Mr. McCullum was a diversity. Yeah. Mr. McCullum is actually the one who told me, he was like, you should email this person named Tracy. And I was like, but I don't really, I'm a little bit nervous. I'm like, I don't really know Tracy. I don't know. Should I really email this person? Like, it's a cold email. Like, I understand sending emails to people that you know, but sending cold emails was this foreign thing to me. But I gathered my courage. I emailed Tracy, and Tracy was like, okay, yeah, come stop by my lab so we can talk a little bit. So I ended up talking with Tracy, and we actually talked for like hours, because I was interested in her research. She was interested in me as a student. I ended up not in her lab though, because she didn't have funding to have me as a student. So then that led me to more, kind of using her network to meet Steve.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, meeting Steve looked like, with meeting Steve, it was also an email, but it was an email through Tracy. Tracy sent an email with me CC'd to Steve saying, hey, you should meet with this student. She's amazing. You know, I love her. I would accept her as a student, but I can't because of funding. Yeah, so yeah, networking looks a lot of different ways. And it only really works if you know someone else. You can't just send a cold email to someone and expect them to reply.
So I'm gonna push back on that a little bit. But there were some things that did come to mind. But before I get to that, I think that you can send a cold email to someone, and I'm not gonna say that you have to expect them to reply, but you can send a cold email and you just may get a response.
Mm-hmm.
Something that I'm learning navigating this business world is that cold calling and looking up organizations and people and things that fit within your niche, your area of interest, is a way to get your foot in the door.
Mm-hmm.
But getting back to the topic of the conversation, I like that, you know, there's differences in how the networking occurred, right? You had a sponsor, so it seems like Dr. Preston became your sponsor, and that she was able to take you to this person and say, hey, well, actually, you had multiple sponsors in this situation. Dr. Preston was your sponsor, and she took you to the then Dean Hank McCullum. I think he was a dean. I don't know anything about titles for real, for real. That's a whole other topic of conversation. But so she took you to the then dean, and then he introduced you to Tracy, who then became your sponsor in taking you to Steve.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to highlight that having sponsors, and sponsors are people who are within the institution that you're trying to gain access in, or, you know, increase your level or your status in, to back you and say, hey, you know, to other people within that institution, this is a person that you should look at. This is a person that you should, you know, kind of take under your wing if you can. And then the second thing that came to mind was the fact that you said that you got over that fear. You got over, like, you got that courage. What did that look like? Like, was it just you saying, you know what, type this email and send it? Or did you have to prep yourself? Like, a lot of people have issues. No, I'm not going to say issues. A lot of people have trouble with getting over those hurdles of just things that make them uncomfortable.
Yeah, I was very good with it. What I did was I drafted an email. I even put her email into the, you know, the toolbox, but I didn't send that email until like a week later.
You know, I definitely do something similar. Even today, like, there are some times where I don't know, I get into this thing where I don't want to send the email. And so what I'll do is I'll type it up, put who it's going to go to, and then I'll schedule it to go out the next day. So that I mean, I'm not in that moment clicking send. It just goes.
Yeah. I didn't think of that. That's actually a really good idea. But yeah, it sat in my draft box for like a week before I actually sent that email.
See, I'll forget. If it's in the draft box, I will forget it there and it will never go out. But having it scheduled, it'll just go out. And that has been a game changer for me. The only thing, though, is that it requires you not to procrastinate on getting stuff out, because, like, in my case, I have like a day that I can delay sending out this email. But if it's something that you done pushed up to the wire, and in your case too, right, you said you had a week of time before you actually sent the email, so you weren't procrastinating either. So that was you getting into graduate school, using your network. And that, I also love the network within the network, the meta networking that you talked about there. But as a graduate student, how have you continued to network?
Yeah, so as a graduate student, what I'm doing now to network is I'm still, again, going to conferences. Except this time I'm going with my advisor, so he can introduce me to all of the people that he knows. Yeah, so I meet all of these different people, plus all of the people that my advisor knows. And then one thing about networking is you have to stay in contact with these people. You can't just meet them one day, you know, and you know, you always send that email afterwards saying, hey, it was really nice to meet you, but that it can't stop there. It has to continue to move forward. And I wouldn't even say email like every week, but maybe email like once a month or once every other month, just to let them know, hi, I'm still here. You know, I still like you. I'm still interested in you, and I'm still interested in you at, you know, knowing you as a person, because I know what you can do.
Let's say you go to a conference and you meet 10 people. Do you follow up with all 10 of those people?
No, so I am very selective when it comes to networking. What I look for is people who I want to be like. So when I'm trying to network, I network with people who are in a position that I want to be in the future. There are also people I network with who I just kind of like, even if they don't really have anything to do with what I want to do. But I'm very selective when it comes to actually networking with people or following up, not networking.
Okay. How many like solid members of your network would you say you have?
Um, about 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I asked that question to kind of put in perspective, like how many people do you actually need to network with? And I'm sure that, so that is your more immediate network. I'm sure that you know people who are outside of that immediate network that if, let's say you kind of wanted to branch out or change directions or even connect someone to someone else, you have people that are outside of your immediate network that you don't necessarily talk to all the time, but if you sent them an email saying, hey, we met at this function and we had a conversation about this.
Yeah. So there are times where you will have to send someone something. You're looking for something at maybe their university. And you're like, oh wait, I know blank. It can't be something where you're like, man, there's someone there. It can't be like that. It can't be like there's someone there, obviously. And you're looking through the faculty. And you're like, oh wait, I met this person once. It can't be like that. It has to be where you're thinking about it. You're like, okay, well, I want to go to, and I'm just gonna pick a school. I want to go to UGA. Do I know anyone from UGA? And then I'm like, oh yeah, I know Kimberly from UGA. And I'm pretty sure she remembers me. So I'm going to send her an email and be like, hi, I don't know if you remember me. We spoke at blank event. I was wondering if you had any opportunities at the school that you would like to tell me about, and things like that. And then once she, or he emails you back, and if they do remember you, they'll just be like, oh yeah, I remember you from whatever that event was. Yeah, there's blank, 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 and blank. What are you looking for? And that's when you have your opening now, and that's when you want to tell them, this is what I'm looking for. Do you happen to know anyone in this position? Blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that. You just outlined an email for someone who's looking to figure out how do you start that conversation. Anything, honestly, about networking that you would like to share?
I would just say that it all shouldn't be based off of what you want to do, because you never know what's going to happen in the future. So for me, for example, I've had a huge change in what I want to do with my career. At first, I wanted to be a professor and work in a university, and now I'm like, no, I don't know. I kind of want to do something that's more diverse based, something that actually helps underrepresented groups of students or people. So having just people that that you like at different places, that helps. So, for example, I know a woman named Otelia. I know her because I went to Savannah State. But she is just someone that I like, as a person. It has nothing to do with, she knows, she doesn't really have anything to do with what I want to do, but she has still been able to connect me with people who are doing something that I want to do. Just because they don't do it doesn't mean that they don't know people who do it. That it's not just your advisors network. You should also meet people at the current university that you're at. So as a PhD student, I'm still, networking with people at the university. For example, as the president of an organization, I have networked with so many different faculty who've introduced me to other campuses. So that's another way to just kind of network and get to know what's going on, get to know these different people who can then also, you know, build your network by adding their network to your network.
Mm-hmm. And I think that makes you a well-rounded out person, and in that you're getting to experience people in different places with different mindsets, with different perspectives and points of views. So that definitely fits right in line with the gratified grad goal. Dynasty's journey into becoming a graduate student shows that perfectly.